Welcome to 365 Brothers, the podcast. Have you wondered who are the Black men that you pass on the street every day? What are their lives like? Well, in this podcast, we have an in-depth conversation with Black men from all across America and all walks of life. Listen to their stories, their experiences, their wisdom. I'm your host, Robin Shine. Get comfy. Today, we have the privilege of speaking with a spoken word artist and writer. He's been on the Arsenio Hall Show. He's appeared at the Essence Fest. He was on tour with Jill Scott. And for 6 seasons, he was on the Versus and Flow show on TV1. We today get to speak with Prentice Powell. What an honor. Welcome, Prentice.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for having me.
It's a delight. So before we start, is there anything that you'd like to share with the listeners about you, your life, before we get into the questions?
No, I'm ready to get into the questions.
All right, well, let's do it. So, Prentice, what is your favorite song and why?
1996, Nas came out with an album called The Message. It was the second album. And there was a song in there called the song was called The Message. That's my favorite song ever. The album was called It Was Written from Nas's album. So The Message is my favorite song. I think it's the first song I can think of that I paid attention to the writing, like the words, the way it was sculpted. For some reason, it stood out to me. I couldn't relate in any shape or form, but it was just so vivid in the writing and everything, and it always just stuck with me. So The Message from Nas is definitely my favorite song.
Well, knowing that you are a spoken word artist and writer, that this song is the one that stands out for that reason, you've got to share with us, what was it about the writing that caught your attention? Okay.
But about the song, I remember being 13 years old and understanding everything he was saying, feeling like I was in the song. The thing about Nas in general for me, and The Message was my first song that I heard. Nas's writing is so vivid. He tells a story, and you don't have to be in the same situation in order to understand. I think there's a huge gift in being able to write, and people be able to see your words in their head, if that makes sense. To be able to transition your thoughts and words on the paper, not only to get people to understand, but to put people in that space. I think there's a gift in being able to take your words and be able to craft them in a way that's appealing for people to listen to. You know, that's just one. Can you craft your words so that's appealing to the ear? Then once you actually get into, just the depth of writing, you realize how much you can manipulate words to mean so many different things. And Nas has this ability to tell stories while remaining, I think, authentic and neutral, while being grounded in his perspective of the world. Like, he doesn't waver from that ever in his work and his writing. And I think it's commendable. And that song, at 13 years old, sitting on 2 pillows in my mom's front seat of her car because she was on vacation, me and my friend drove to the nearest mall to get that cassette tape. So it just comes with a lot of memories.
Okay, I get it. What's a favorite childhood memory?
Forensic speech and debate. I did forensic speech and debate in high school. That's how I got on stages. That's how I got into public speaking. That's how I got into theater. My whole career doing it for 3 years, I never lost a single competition. I came in first. I did duo, dramatic and Turk. So I had a partner. Shout out to my friend Eugene Brooks. But I never lost. We never lost a single match. We traveled across the country. I did nationals, state championship. I lost at nationals. We came in 13th in the nation. But we won the state championship. So I would definitely say that having so much success in public speaking initially was absolutely my best childhood memory.
Do you recall what had you enroll in forensic speech and debate?
Yes, my trip to Juvenile Hall is
Oh,
so being 13, running with the wrong crowd. I went to Juvenile Hall we threw a rock and it broke a man's window, and the cops seen it, and that was the tipping point. The day I got out of Juvenile Hall, my mother took me to the front office at my high school. I went to James Logan High School. My teacher, my coach, forensic coach, my mentor, his name is Tommy Lindsay. He was on Oprah. He's the man who got me into all of this. But the day I got out of Juvenile Hall, my mom took me to the office and introduced me to him because she heard about forensic speech and debate at James Logan High School in Union City, which is where I went to school. And the program was just known for breeding kids of color and having them do talented things on stage. And
wow.
it hold of me, and ever since then, I've never left it.
That's fantastic. So, so basically, your mom knew about this program that would maybe provide an outlet for you to capture your attention and keep you from going in the wrong direction.
Absolutely, that's exactly what it was.
That's great. Kudos to your mom, and look what has blossomed from that.
She
That's
takes credit for it every chance she can get, as she should. As she should.
That's great. All right. Well, I mean, I'm about to ask you about accomplishments, but really, we've been talking about accomplishments this whole time. But the difference is in this question, I'm actually interested in two things. The first part of the question is, which accomplishment means the most to you personally? And then the second part is, which accomplishment is the one that tends to impress others most, or it is the one that society goes, woo-wee.
Mm-hmm. The one that society grabs on, my first viral poem, it's called The System. I wrote it a couple of years back, having absolutely no clue it was going to do what it did. The System it's been viral. It has over like 10 million views, I think, on the internet. It's the first poem I performed on the Arsenio Hall Show, which is what landed me a reoccurring role on the show. So The System is definitely professionally my most notable poem, and I think the thing that gets the most notoriety. Personally, that's so hard to say because I'm so blessed and I appreciate every opportunity. I'm not the type that takes any of this for granted. But personally, being on tour with Jill Scott, we were in Washington, D.C., and Michelle Obama was in the audience.
Woohoo!
That was amazing to know that you were performing in front of her. But honestly, I think, and I have it on tape, it was my moment meeting my frat brother and good Dr. Cornell West. In the conversation we had, him being familiar with my work, us both being alpha men, it was just an amazing, amazing experience. And that same show, it was in Cleveland. I performed with The Roots as well. And Black Thought is my second favorite rapper of all time. And I just froze up. I couldn't introduce myself to him. I was right there and I just couldn't do it. So personally, that show is my my personal biggest accomplishment. I was on stage with Cornell West and The Roots. That was big.
That's amazing. I get
Yeah,
that.
it was awesome.
You've had some really wonderful experiences. I could go straight into the next question, but I am going to just ask you, beyond the accomplishment of it itself, is there a performance that you've done that stands out in any way?
I honestly can't say that one performance stands out more than others because of what it means. Like, this is therapy for me. This is therapeutic. Granted, there have been times where I know there's, a lot of people watching or certain people who are significant to me in the audience, but this is therapy for me. So every time I get up there, regardless if I'm on a national stage or across the street, literally practicing outside of my house, I love it. So I can't say there's a specific performance that just stands out to me because it always does something for me. And I know that sounds kind of cliche in a way, but I really genuinely mean it. It's just so therapeutic.
Tell me about the therapeutic part.
For me, poetry and writing in general, poetry being my favorite avenue, it allows me to sculpt and convey words however I choose to. But the key for me is seeing if I can get you to understand what I'm saying. Can I do it in a creative way? How can I get you to hear what I'm saying without saying exactly what I want to say to you? Like there's different ways you can write. You can hide things. But most importantly, I heal from it. My notebook gets to carry all of my weight, all of my weight. I always said, if my notebook was a person, they'd be the most beautiful, schizophrenic, destroyed, damaged, positive, negative person on the planet. And you would absolutely love that person because they were so human. And
I love
I just
that.
feel like writing allows you to do that. Writing allows you to take stuff. I mean, I'm a black man in America. On top of that, I can't carry everything that's in my head with me everywhere I go. So my notebook allows me to drop off those thoughts and those words. And if I don't want to pick them up, I leave them there.
That's
Literally, I
wonderful.
leave them there, and they're out. They're out. So I make room for the things that I need, the right type of spirit and energy. So sometimes you got to get negative things out, put them on paper. Sometimes you got to get the positivity on paper too to make room for some more of it, to figure out what you want to bring in and give out to the world. So for me, poetry and writing allows me to do that.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Um, it's funny to ask this question of someone who is a writer and a spoken word artist,
Mhm.
but here it is. What is your favorite quote, saying, metaphor, or book?
So I had seventh grade. I found this quote and I wrote it down and I put it on my wall and had it on my wall for I don't know how many years. Success doesn't change you; it only magnifies who you already are. I don't know who wrote it. But I remember seeing it in seventh grade. I remember for some reason it stood out, and that was the only quote I ever wrote down and put on my wall.
Mm.
Um, and as you get older and start to, I think, obtain an idea of what success is to you, having a quote like that always in my head is really significant to me because it allows me to remain humble, to stay grounded, to check myself.
Mhm.
Um, because you can see so many people achieve success and you can see how they grow or develop or change, depending on what it does. So success doesn't change you, only magnifies who you already are. That is my absolute favorite quote.
I absolutely love that quote. I feel as if I may have heard it or seen it before, but right now, working on this project, it's one of the first projects that's a real labor of love for me, as
Mhm.
opposed to it's something I want to do because I want to publish something or I want to.
Right.
And so what I love about that quote is sometimes I know, sometimes I know that I will hold myself back for fear of the change
Hmm.
of, you know what I mean? Like, well, I don't want to get it to, I don't want, right? And it's like I'm confronted because I know what the possibility of is of this.
Hmm.
And I'm over 50 now. So I'm finally at a place where I know, oh, I'm always going to be me. And I
Yep.
didn't know that in my 30s. And I didn't even know it for sure in my 40s. So
And
kudos to you for knowing it now.
well, I'm in my 30s, and what I'm learning with that quote, going deeper, I'm learning, and I'm thinking about this right now. I don't think I've ever thought about this until we've had this conversation right now. I'm learning with you got to pay attention with the success. Like what are other people seeing out of you as a result of your success that's positive? You know what I mean? Let's not only look at the negative, but look at the positive things because sometimes when we fear the unknown, which oh my God, I've done so much. When we fear the unknown and then we reap the benefits of stepping out on that fear, I think it's really important not only to see what we find out about ourselves, but what other people see in us. Because, we have a certain perspective that other people have a perspective that they can't give us. What do people see out of you during your times of success? Like, you're organized, you're very positive, rely on those things, pull them out and figure out how you can expand. And success is just an amazing thing. It really, really is. And the people who turn south or change up for the bad, that's honestly, I believe that's who they are.
Yeah. So now, looking back on your life, is there a person, moment, conversation, or event that either stands out as changing the trajectory of your life or is significant in having you become who you are?
Absolutely. I got divorced 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was married for 6.5 years. And the hardest, scariest thing I ever done in my life was walk away from my marriage after 6.5 years. The most terrifying, full of self-doubt, fear. I just did not want to do it. And we spent countless years unhealthy as a result of, and I only speak from my angle,
Mm-hmm.
um, speaking on my behalf, countless additional years as a result of my fear, me just wanting to make this work for my own personal reasons, circumstances, situations, whatever. And when I finally made that decision to walk away from my marriage, as terrifying as it was, God has been beaming on me ever since.
Mm.
Um, with the pain, with the transitions, with the learning, everything I learned, my self reflection, the accountability that I've had to take. I've never had a journey like the one I'm on right now in my life since the day I decided to leave my marriage.
Wow.
And that is absolutely thus far the most pivotal moment in my life because I am literally living proof of when you step out on faith and fear, God will let you know where you're going. He'll let you know where you're headed. Opportunities will present themselves. You will see things about yourself that you could have never seen if you didn't step, going back to that statement you made, if you don't step out on the fear. And then you reflect. And how you reflect on your past and how you reflect on that pivotal moment, I think is even more important. Because are you going to reflect on some negative things that happen and allow that to be negative baggage that influences your life now? Or are you
Mm.
going to take those experiences that led to those negative feelings or viewpoints or whatever or experiences and learn from it and say, okay, I can control only me. What did I do wrong? How do I apply that in my present? What do I want in my future? So I am literally every day living a transition right now, and it is absolutely beautiful. It is beautiful with the
Got
pain that
it.
comes with it,
Can I
with the
ask
joy.
you,
Yes.
what's something that you discovered about yourself as you dealt with what you had to deal with? Because you mentioned the word being accountable. Like, what's something that you discovered?
I had no idea how to love myself. No clue. All this time being on TV, poems, recognition, whatever, the things that society cares about, that doesn't fill you. It doesn't, I didn't know about self-love. So how am I sitting here? How have I convinced this woman to spend the rest of her life with me saying I do, thinking I love myself, but not loving myself. I didn't love myself. I had to learn about self-care. You don't keep yourself in certain situations that aren't beneficial for you if you love yourself. There are certain things you don't do and say to other people if you love yourself. There's certain perspectives you have and don't have if you truly love yourself. So as a result of it, I've learned self-love, everything from uh, you know, soul ties to sexual energy. I'm big on this lately. I think men have to pay a lot more attention to who they share their bodies with. That energy that you are passing on from person to person. If you are a promiscuous man and you are dipping from woman to woman, you're carrying a lot of that energy and baggage wherever you lay your head at night. And God forbid
Mm.
there's a woman who's trusting you in your bed. You're bringing all that back.
Mm.
So just various things. I'm really, really learning. I'm allowing myself and giving myself permission to forgive myself. So
I love that.
yeah,
Amen. And may other people do the same.
please
And it's
do
a
it.
process, isn't it? Like,
Yes, yes.
you think you've done it, and then you look and you see in a corner, oh my gosh, that
Yeah.
is not me loving me.
Yeah, or you relapse.
And
You're
there's
gonna have
that.
times where you relapse when we're trying to grow.
Hmm.
And it doesn't mean the world is over. This is growth. Growth is a process, and the smarter you get, I feel like the more difficult it becomes. Like when you really understand life and start to just look back and experiences and just understand the way the world works and energy and everything, it's harder to grow. So you have to be patient with yourself.
Yeah, I love it. I just have to add, it's what you're saying about that, because I personally think, we're here learning, the soul is learning,
Hmm.
and it's almost like, okay, so you mastered 10th grade. Great. Now you get to go to 11th grade. And then you
Hmm.
master what your soul is learning at the high school soul level, whatever that is. That's great. Now
Yeah.
let's get you some college level courses.
Right. And some of those you're gonna fail too. You
uh,
know what I mean? We gotta remember that. Like, we did 10th grade, but we may have got a D in one of those classes. But
mhm.
we can't let that D may mean that, that's just not our skill set for 12th grade. Let's get through it.
It's
Maybe
helping
that
you
just
narrow
isn't.
and find your focus.
Look, we gotta do it. So we gotta take the wins with the failures. We have to.
Yeah, I get it. All right. Um, so then, what is a moment or event that highlights or gives significance to your experience as a Black man in America?
Oh, there's not one. Just breathing. There's. I, that's an open-ended question. I can't say there's a moment. I live it every day. Every
Yeah.
day is a moment. Every moment is a moment. Uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Every day is a moment. There's
Okay.
not one. There's not one.
So this moment right now, tell me about it. How does this signify the experience of being a Black man?
In front of a Black woman, I am right now making sure that I hold myself accountable. Um, in your presence, I think one thing that I'm trying to do is I talk accountability a lot. I preach it. I preach it very well.
Mhm.
I think I take accountability well. I think I do. I'm not going to ask anybody else. I think I do. But I want to get better with that. I don't want to be somebody who can just talk good. I don't want to be somebody who obviously I can speak, but I want to live it. So I figure when I have these opportunities to engage with other people, I have these side conversations in my head about, okay, what am I gonna work on? What's something I need to work on? And let me just try to implement that through this experience. So right now it's just about accountability and honesty for me right now as a Black male. And I feel like we don't do that enough. Sometimes we're talked down to while we're being told we need to be held accountable, and that's not necessary. So
Mm,
this is me being honest and not worried about telling the truth.
mm, mm. I get that. I thank you. Have you had any interactions with law enforcement? And if so, is there one or two that stand out
Yeah,
as a
there
part?
are. When I was in second grade, my mother became a police officer.
Mm,
My mother was a single mom. I was uh, I was at that very very young child because my mom had to work, who had to stay home by herself a lot. So that means that my mom, being the mother she was, amazing and is, say was thinking about my childhood, is thinking about now. But the amazing mother, the amazing woman and mother my mom is. So I spent a lot of my life in the back seat of police cars,
mm,
sneaking, playing spy, getting dropped off at the library, getting dropped off at football practice in a police car. So my first experiences with the police were literally in the back of a police car as a child playing spy, because there's no way in the world the police department can know my mom is transporting her son to football practices and doesn't want him home for hours, so dropping him off at the library in her cop car. So I would hop in the back with them hard seats and duck, and we play spy, and that was my experience in childhood. Third
mm.
grade, third grade, they got a talking police car, and she drove up to my school, my elementary school, in a police car, and it was part of some program, and the car is talking to the kids, and I'm lying, saying, "Yeah, that car lives with us." Like Knight Rider was popular. This was the '80s. Uh,
Ah,
this was no early '90s. Knight Rider was popular, so I was like, "Yeah, it takes me to the store line."
that's funny.
Fast forward, so they used to come to birthday parties, give me birthday presents. Some of the police officers.
Mm-hmm.
because my mother was a cop, you know. So when I see him out riding my bike, say what's up, all that. So that was up until 13. 13, I throw that rock at that car that I was telling you about that led me to juvenile hall. But let me rewind to 11 years old. My mother sued the police department for differential treatment. She won her lawsuit. She was no
Wow.
longer an officer for that city, which is the same city we were living in.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't say hi as much when I turned 12.
Mm-hmm.
When I
Got it.
turned 13 and I broke that window, uh, we got arrested. It was a white man. We got arrested. They knew exactly who I was. They put me in the cuffs. Rough. It was just really, really rough. I knew who the cops were. Really rough. Put me in the back of the paddy wagon to take me to juvenile hall, but they didn't lock the cuffs to the little hook so that when you're in the paddy wagon, you don't slide. And I had an unusually rough ride. I remember that ride
Wow.
to juvenile hall at 13. It was rough. I heard a lot of laughter. I got poked up a little bit when they took me out. And all of a sudden, the same men that I was used to seeing my whole life are the same men laughing and teasing and, you know, being a little extra with me. My mother's a very militant woman, former Black Panther. So I have been born with just an admiration for my culture that, you know, nobody can take. So I think when that happened, it changed my perspective on police from a personal space, not everything I heard or grew up listening to in music or hearing my mother talk about, but just my own personal experience,
Mm.
knowing that these are the same people that I didn't have a problem with cops. You know what I mean? Like my mom was a cop and y'all were nice to me. And she sues for differential treatment and sexual harassment. All of a sudden, y'all don't like me no more. And then 13 for throwing rocks, you guys roughed me up. That shaped how I viewed police officers. Absolutely. Then just I think the natural progression of getting older as a Black man, you start to have more experiences that will let you know that these people aren't here to protect and serve you. And that's my personal experience. And as a Black man, I'm not one of those Black men who haven't had any issues with cops. I've had issues with cops, you know, but I think the contrast of my experience is my childhood. You know, I wasn't raised on F the police.
Right.
You know, I knew the song, I knew the music, and I got the concept, but that wasn't my experience. So I wasn't gonna adopt a mentality that I didn't really have.
Yeah.
So now, just as a Black male with all the experiences I've had, I don't like law enforcement.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So that brings me to this question. Not
Okay.
that all of America is about law enforcement, because it's not. There's so much to it. But whether she's a friend, neighbor, lover, mother, wife, whatever, if America was a woman, what would you say to her?
I'm sorry. I'm laughing because my response. Are we allowed to curse? I can't say it. It was funny. It was a moment, and it was the most honest thing I could think of.
Look, I've already had a guest curse. I just mark it as explicit. So say what you want. It's up to you.
Okay. My first thought. Let me just say in advance, I don't use the word because I don't like it. Have you seen Dave Chappelle, his most recent stand-up?
I saw the one he did post George Floyd. I don't know which stand-up that is, but I've seen a lot of them, so I don't know which one.
Long story short, I'm refraining from the phrase, but there's a bit that he has in the beginning of one of his stand-ups where he says he can tell a joke back. He's so good, he can write jokes backwards. He starts with the punchline. His punchline for the joke was, "So I kicked her in the pussy." And when I heard the question, it's the first thing that came to mind. In if America was a woman, shame on you. You've done a horrible job. What have you produced? Like, this is trash. You're terrible. So that's the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say. I don't know. That's what came to mind. Just America needs a good kick. Needs some construction, some serious organ reconstruction going on right now. You need to look at your children, and can you possibly sit here with a straight face and smile and take pride in your product? Can you really? Like as a woman, as the creator of this earth, because let's keep it real, women are, as the most powerful beings on this earth, in my opinion, women are. Really, America, this is the best you can do, but it's the best you've ever done. And your kids come back to you and they tell you they love you so much. So you think you're doing well. These hateful children you're producing continue to create more hateful children, which stems from your birth. So you have this ancestral family that keeps screwing each other and coming out with children with 5 legs and 5 arms and warped brains, and you're terrible. You're terrible, America. You're terrible. You're horrible, and I'm not going to put you on a pedestal on my mantle as my mother because I was born in this country. I'm not gonna do it. You don't love me. You didn't even put me up for adoption. You you gave birth to me on the side of a street and slapped me while you walked away. You didn't put me on a front porch. But I built the house that you're walking into. I'm sorry, I can go on a rant. I'm sorry. I don't want to.
Hey, I I appreciate what you're saying. I mean, it's you talked about how Nas is so vivid. Your response to that question, it was a vivid picture. I mean, when you added, you didn't even put me up for adoption, then you slapped me at just before you walked away. That paints a picture.
It's what it feels like, So if America were a woman, she needs to get canceled with this new culture. Let's cancel America and find a replacement. I mean, that's what we do already, anyways, right?
I got it. What is left to you?
Oh man, love is looking at yourself in the mirror and enjoying who you see. Like at the raw, I think of the purest form of love. Love is within first, 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 first. I hadn't experienced the same type of love when my oldest was born. That love was that love is just different when it comes to being a father and your children. But that love, like, and I'm nowhere near where I'm going to be. That love of self, when you start to learn how to love everything about you, everything you've done, the good and bad, and see that you're still here, no matter what even the ratio is. But when you start to love yourself even an ounce more, it makes everything so much better and easier to handle.
Mhm.
So I really feel like love is self. Love is that reflection and not lying to yourself. Love is growth. Love is sacrifice. Love is self-care. Love is selflessness. Love is attentiveness. Um, and it's free. It's free. Love is free. There is nowhere you need to go to give it or receive it because you can give it to yourself. Love is free. That's my reply.
Love it. I love that. Is there anything about you that we haven't covered that challenges any stereotype?
We haven't talked about fatherhood. I would say absolutely. I mean, I have 3 children. I raised them. Like, and I have 3 children by 3 different women. Let's be more specific.
Mhm.
One spends the majority of his time in Florida, but has been here since March because of quarantine, which is the biggest blessing
Mm.
in the world. I raise my kids. We raise our kids. Stop treating us like an anomaly. When you see me in the streets with all of my kids, I'm not. Don't look at me like I got 5 legs. Let's normalize this behavior because it's more normal than people think, and the way we're marketing and promoting. We raise our children,
Right.
and
Yeah.
we can have 3 kids by 3 different women and
Yeah.
be a damn good man. You don't know no circumstances, So I think we just got to get rid of a lot of the stereotypes that come with being a black male and accept the fact that you don't have to live your life challenging stereotypes. Just doing you and being you is enough. And let's not fall into the pocket of these black male stereotypes and spend our life um challenging the oppressor who will never care about us. You know, the person who's painting these narratives of us is never going to stop painting.
Yes.
You know, so if we're waking up every day looking at those paintings and that being our motivation for who we become, I think we're losing.
Yeah.
Because we're shaping ourselves based upon the perspective of somebody who's never going to appreciate.
I because I want to be careful here because I don't want to uh, insult anyone, right?
Yeah.
Um, but one of the things I have noticed is that a lot of brothers spend time trying to be the antithesis of stereotypes.
Yep.
And in particular, one that comes up often is not wanting to be seen as angry or unapproachable. And I did an interview on Sunday with some gentlemen in the UK, actually it's men and women. And I surprised myself because I hadn't noticed it when I was speaking about it. All of a sudden, I really got the weight of having to diminish oneself constantly. Through these interviews, one of the things I've discovered is that there's this sense that I have to ensure that others don't feel threatened. And
For
talk to me.
our own safety. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go.
It's for, we have to come across, we have to minimize ourselves, dilute ourselves, seem less threatening for our own safety. Because we're too concerned that if we come across a certain way, we're going to get a certain energy that we just don't have time for or don't want. And I know Black men, like you said, I know you've had to see it with these interviews. I know you've had to see how many of us hold these stereotypes at the very forefront of our mind, which dictates all our behavior.
Mm-hmm.
As if every Black man in America does not have an automatic right, and it should be understandable for them to be angry. Why do I have to seem like I'm not angry? Does it not make sense why I would be angry? So why do I have to walk around looking happy if I'm not? Where's the healing in that? Where's the healing in not allowing yourself to feel how you truly do? Yeah. Honestly, there's no healing in that. So all we become are these vessels of emotions that don't have a place to release them. We try to find safe spaces. Those safe spaces get messed up sometimes, you know, but why do we need so many safe spaces? Why can't we feel exactly how we want to while we're causing absolutely no harm to anyone? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Agreed.
I'm sorry I cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, what you did was you finished my thought, and I love that you did, because now it was through the voice of a Black man rather than through this sister's voice. So thank you.
Well, thank you for the platform. It's amazing.
I appreciate the gratitude that brothers are giving me for choosing to take this on, but I have to tell you, the gift is over here. It is. I didn't know how much I did not see men, period, of any race. You're just this other half. You're good for sex and taking care of me and taking me out. Or you're in my way at work.
Right.
That's it. And now it's like, it really took taking this on for me to really get that men are the other half of human beings. I feel like part of me should be embarrassed saying it, but it's the truth. It's just, I was actually interacting with all the stories about men that women tell in their, well, he did, and my grandmother was not a fan of love. I'm just say that right now. She was not a fan of love, married and divorced 3 times. And so I grew up in a very matriarchal, men are useful. That's what men are. And so this has just opened up my heart. And I'm hopeful that, like when I first started this, I never even thought about Black women as an audience for this. It was really, initially, it was just, I want white people to hear who men are, Black men are, because, my cousin, my uncles, I want them to know. But then I realized, oh, wait a second, Black men want to hear this. And then all of a sudden I was talking to me, I was like, oh my gosh, Black women need to know what Black men are really, we don't connect, you know? So anyway.
Yeah, I think you guys are also often based on the media, and I think us as Black men too, we package ourselves a lot to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
We're often packaged, and I feel like you doing this, depending on the type of men, with 365 of them, we don't have to be packaged in this, you know? Like, I mean, you can choose to.
Yeah.
You can choose to if that's your MO, and, you know, some people are in corporate America and you are used to the sales pitch. Some people, you know, I'm my own brand, but I'm my authentic brand. You know, so I remind my, but some people, they have a brand that they're going to project when the cameras are on, they hear podcast. But you don't have to be packaged. And it allows us to talk. And there's always going to be comfort in seeing a Black woman on the other side because she looks like your mama. You know what I mean? So there's an automatic comfort when you talk to a Black woman, whether she's 18 or 88. You know, she's going to remind you of your sister, your aunt, your cousin, your friend, somebody. So there's a comfort as Black men in talking to Black women, you know, and then to be given a platform where there is no bias, right? Like we're not here to debate anything. We're here to talk. And so this is necessary to create that type of bridge. And there may be a Black woman who has lost her faith in Black men as a result of her experience. And because she's affiliated with you, this may give me an opportunity to speak to her through you and 364 other Black men. You know what I mean? This may give that Black man and these brothers who don't be fooling with our Black women like they're out of their damn mind, that reminder that, look, there's only one woman who's here for you at the end of the day. And I'm not saying against anything, interracial marriages, anything like that. That's not what I'm promoting. But at the end of the day, it is a Black woman who is going to hold you down. If you have one who is not Black, consider yourself lucky. Because at the end of the day, the Black woman is going to do exactly what you're doing for us right now, which is talking to us, listening to us, loving on us, and giving us a platform to be ourselves.
Sweet. Thank you. So then the last question is, having participated in this conversation, is there anything that you're now present to, aware of, or that you're taking away from having participated?
I need to do this more often. I need to talk to more Black women. A lot of the things that I project, like on my Instagram, social media, right now I'm really focused on Black men, Black men's health. You know, so I'm talking about my experiences, very candid and transparent, you know, but tactical, because I want to help other Black men like me who are tired of portraying images and just want to be their authentic self.
Yes.
But I'm realizing within, because I'm focusing so much and talking to Black men, in order to keep myself balanced, I need to have more conversations with Black women, because the way I'm speaking is different than when I speak to my brothers. Just seeing you on the other side. So I know that I need to engage in more conversation with Black women.
That's awesome.
About my process.
That's great. Yeah. And it will be welcome. I can assure it will make a difference.
I hope so.
So Prentice, what I want to say is thank you for your vulnerability, your authenticity, your sensitivity, and your willingness to be so straightforward and direct. There's so much that I got out of this conversation, and it's because you put into the space. It's almost like when you are speaking, and no doubt because you're a writer and a spoken word artist, but you pull something out of me, like you have me meet you in the middle. And I don't have a way to describe how you do that, but I can say to you, so Prentice, when you speak, there's something in your being present that it actually occurs for me, like we're meeting in the middle and our hearts are exchanging information.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's synergy. That's part of what life is about. We can exchange. You don't have to be in person, but with the right spirits, you get something. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
As you can hear, you do not want to miss any of these brothers. Make sure you subscribe. You can find more at our website, 365brothers.com, 365brothers.com. This is Robin Shine. To listen is to love.